And definitely since we are celebrating an Eid, a moment that shows the greatness of al-Bayt, then our salawat should be a salawat that is celebratory. It should be a loud salawat. Salla ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله مرسل بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على دين كله وأشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين حجج الله أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحق, truth or reality, الحق من ربك فلا تكن من الممترين فمن حاجك فيه من بعد ما جاءك من العلم فقل تعالوا ندعو أبناءنا وأبناءكم ونساءنا ونساءكم وأنفسنا وأنفسكم ثم نبتهل فنجعل لعنة الله على الكاذبين إن هذا لهو قصص الحق وما من إله إلا الله إن الله لهو العزيز الحكيم صدق الله علي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وآل محمد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. First and foremost, I congratulate you all on this auspicious occasion, which is the celebration, as it is called, the celebration of the victory of Rasulullah, the celebration of Eid al-Mubahalah. This is a moment in which the Prophet, he came face to face with a group of Christians to discuss an issue, and that issue which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he points out very vividly in verse 60, the beginning of verse 60 of Surah Ali Imran, that's chapter 3 of the Quran, verse 60, it says, Al-Haq. If we want to understand the meaning of al-Mubahala, what was it about? Was it simply a historical moment of interreligious dialogue, or was it something a little bit more profound and deeper? Something that you and I today can make use of. Something that you and I today can take with us and live by this principle every day of our lives. This is what Mubahala was about. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He begins it in that engagement, al-haq, is truth. In fact, when we look at chapter 3 of the Quran, Surah Ali Imran, as many of the commentators, they state that this chapter, one of the specific topics in this chapter is the da'wah, or tabligh, the propagation of the Prophet. That how he invited others, and particularly his engagement with Ahlul Kitab, the people of the book. What was his method of inviting the people of the book? Surah Ali Imran, it gives us an idea of this. And this is why we also find in the beginning of Surah Ali Imran as well, verse 3, so chapter 3, verse 3, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He states to the Prophet, نَزَّلَ عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابِ بِالْحَقِّ. So we see that the mihwar, or the axis of this particular verse, or this even event that is happening in Mubahala, is truth, is haqq. And that haqq is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and haqq, truth and reality, is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what the entire Mubahala was about truth, haqq. And not simply about the existence of that truth, haqq, but the responsibility of those who have been given the truth and haqq. نَزَّلَ عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابِ بِالْحَقِّ. And in verse 3, and then in verse 60, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala state? Truth is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكَ فَلَا تَكُنْ مِنَ الْمُمْتَرِينَ. So truth is from your Lord. And do not be among those who dispute the truth, who debate with this truth, because truth will always prevail. And what is that truth? As the Prophet, as he engaged with the Ahlul Kitab, that truth is La ilaha illallah. And of course, by virtue of La ilaha illallah, that there is no God but God, by virtue of that, again, Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam will also be established. So this is what Mubahala is about that truth. That truth that even some had perceived or thought they had the truth, but the Prophet, he came to clarify that what exactly is the truth regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What was that truth? فَمَنْ حَاجَكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. And so whoever disputes with you and debates with you regarding this truth, the truth of La ilaha illallah, the truth about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of this world and this universe, whoever disputes with you, Ya Rasulullah, فَقُلْ. And then you say, you call them, تَعَالَوْا, come, نَدْعُوا أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ. Call your children and we will call our children. وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ. We will call our women and you call your women. وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ. And you call yourselves, bring yourselves, and we will bring ourselves. And of course, without any dispute among any of the Muslimin, whether Sunni or Shia, no one, they know that this verse, when it was mentioned to bring your children, and the Prophet said, yes, we will bring our children, it was about Imamain, Al-Hasan wa Hussein, alayhim afdalu salatu wassalam. And the women, again, was Fatimah Zahra, sallallahu alayha, on the side of Rasulullah. And the one, the self, Anfusana, this was about the Prophet himself and Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salatu wassalam. And there's no doubt about that. This is, again, on one hand, it shows us the greatness of the al-Bayt, alayhi salatu wassalam. That these individuals were recipients of what? Of truth, of haqq, of ilm. The knowledge of Ahlul Bayt, without doubt, is connected to Rasulullah, and Rasulullah is connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. نَزَّلَ عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابِ بِالْحَقِّ. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said at the beginning of Surah Al, that He is giving you the book, and that book contains truth. And once the Prophet is a recipient of that truth, of course, he delivers it to, again, his family, and he is responsible also to deliver it to mankind. And this is what we can learn. And this is what we should learn from al-Mubahala. Especially those of us who have come to the Hawza to study, to learn the Quran, that Quran which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has revealed with haqq, with truth. That not only to learn this Quran and embody the Quran, but also to deliver it, the message, the understanding of that truth and reality to others. This is a responsibility with regards to truth and reality. This is something that we also find in the advice of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salatu wasalam, when he advises some of his companions, he says, كُونُوا مِنْ أَهْلِ الْحَقِّ تُعْرَفُ بِي وَتَتَعَارَفُ عَلَيْهِ. He says, be among the people of truth. Be one of those individuals who are Ahlul Haqq, who has truth with them, who's understood truth. Again, the Quran, the people of the Quran who understand the Quran, who live by the Quran, who embodies the Quran, who delivers the message of the Quran. So be among the people of truth, تُعْرَفُ بِهِ, that you are known by that. You're known because you are one who has the truth. As we see, the great example after Rasulullah is Amir al-Mu'mineen. As the Prophet himself, he said about Amir al-Mu'mineen, al-Haqqu ma'ali wa aliyu ma'al-Haqq. The truth is with Ali, and Ali is with truth. So Imam Ali, he is giving his companions, he's giving you and I this advice. To be among the people of truth and to be known by it. وَتَتَعَارَفُ عَلَيْهِ. And not simply be known by the truth that you carry, the knowledge that you carry, but deliver this knowledge. تَتَعَارَفُ. Again, there's an exchange. You're delivering. You're taking this message. And this is, again, one of the meanings of what was stated in the letter of Rahmah. You have a responsibility with regards to the knowledge that you've been given. تَتَعَارَفُ عَلَيْهِ. As Imam Ali, he continues in that advice when he tells his companions to be among the people of truth. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has created His creation, and He has created between His creation, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَهُمُ الْفَضَائِلِ بِعِلْمِهِ. He has created ranks and status between His creation with regards to His knowledge. With regards to His knowledge. Again, this is why the prophets, they have a higher status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have a higher status among mankind, is because they carry the knowledge that has been taught to them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then those who go and learn this knowledge, based on their knowledge, their understanding, their perception, again, their status will rise. And of course, it is conditioned by living by that knowledge, not simply having the knowledge, living by that knowledge. Imam Ali, he says that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He does this, He gives preference to His creation by virtue of their knowledge. It is for a reason. لِيَحْتَجُّ بِهِمْ عَلَى خَلْقِهِ. That He may have a witness in front of His creation. So that there will be none of His creation to say that, well, we didn't know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or we had no means by which to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this again goes back to that point that those individuals who are carrying and shouldering the responsibility of this knowledge is that they're delivering the knowledge. And we see this in every single one of the al-Bayt alayhim afdal salatu wassalam. With regards to the Ahl Kisa, we see it here in the event of Mubahala. That they all came together, again, shouldering the responsibility of truth, of knowledge, which they have received from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and delivering that knowledge. We see it in their individual lives. Again, go pick up Nahj Balagha, you will see the knowledge that Imam Ali, he has given us in Nahj Balagha. Or Fatimah Zahra, salamullah alayha. The knowledge that she has. It is recorded in her life that there was one woman, she sent her daughter to Fatimah Zahra, salamullah alayha, to ask a few questions. She had some questions about her salat. So the daughter of this lady, she went and she asked Fatimah Zahra several questions. And then she went back home, she gave the answers to her mother. Her mother again sent her several times again, almost roughly about 10 times. And at that point, this woman, she began to shy away from Fatima, begin to feel ashamed that she's taking the time of Fatima to Zahra salamullah alayha. And so when Fatima, she noticed this on her face, that she's looking worried, she's shy. So Fatima asked her, what is wrong? So I've already asked you so many questions and I feel embarrassed to continue to ask you. So Fatima to Zahra salamullah alayha, she says, don't be embarrassed. And if you have a question, then continue to ask. I will respond. I will respond. That haven't you seen someone who they shoulder or they agree to lift and to take a very heavy load? They agree to move it from one place to another. Why? Because they're being paid. She says, in the same way, she says that, what if I tell you that even the questions that you're answering me is much better than this? That what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised for those individuals who answer the questions of those who are inquiring is much greater than what anyone could possibly play in this world. So she said, continue to ask, and it's not a problem. She said, and Fatima Jazahra salamullah alayha, she says, this reward as well for the scholars of our Shia. Those who answer the questions of those who are inquiring, who are seeking knowledge. So we see this example in the Ahlul Bayt, that they were recipients of truth and haqq, of knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, within the Quran, from Rasulullah, and they shouldered that responsibility to deliver it. So the question is, or that should be on our minds, that how do we become from Ahlul Haqq? Is there something that we can do? There is. And we find a method or a means to becoming among the people of truth, because as Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, one of the signs of those people who become the people of truth, Ahlul Haqq, he says one of their signs is being obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at-ta'ah. So in order to become from Ahlul Haqq, we will refer to the narration of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi afdalus salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Wherein he narrates the advice that Luqman al-Hakim, Luqman the wise, he gives to his son. He tells his son, again, keeping in mind that obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the key, or is the sign of Ahlul Haqq. So Luqman, he tells his son, he says, زين الطاعة باتباع أهل الحق فإن طاعتهم متصلة بطاعة الله تعالى. He says, beautify your obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, enhance your obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by following Ahlul Haqq. That if you have recognized that who are the people of truth, just as you and I today, we recognize that Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, that they are Ahlul Haqq. So beautify your ibadah, your servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by following the Ahlul Haqq, by following their way of life, their example. Why? Because their obedience is directly connected to the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we don't stop there. According to the advice of Luqman, he says, وَزَيَّنَ ذَلِكَ بِعِلْمٍ. He says, and you beautify and you ornament that, meaning your obedience and your following of the Ahlul Haqq, you beautify that and you make it beautiful by knowledge, by understanding, by learning. Not simply to claim that, oh, I follow Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, but we have no knowledge of what they taught. We have no knowledge of how they lived. So we have to ornament that and make it beautiful by knowledge. And then thereafter, Luqman, he gives his son, and this is very excellent advice. He says, وَحَسِّنْ عِلْمَكَ بِحِلْمٍ. So even after you begin learning, it's not simply enough just to learn. Read a book, I've read it, and oh, I'm finished, I have knowledge. I've acquired knowledge. No, he says, حَسِّنْ عِلْمَكَ بِحِلْمٍ. Immunize your knowledge with hilm, with gracefulness. Immunize your knowledge, again, by being a receptor. In other words, you don't want to mix, as the whole hadith says. It says, حَسِّنْ عِلْمَكَ بِحِلْمٍ حَتَّى لَا يُخَالِطَ الْحُمُقِ. So you protect or immunize your knowledge through gracefulness, so that you don't mix it with being foolish. Because a person can have knowledge, but he doesn't use that knowledge wisely. So you protect that knowledge by being graceful, by being receptive to that knowledge. وَخْزُنْهُ, and then you store that knowledge. وَخْزُنْهُ بِلِينٍ لَا يُخَالِطُهُ جَهَلٍ. So, and then you store that knowledge with a receptive heart, with a soft heart, with lean. Because if your heart is hardened, it will be a barrier from you learning. And this is one of the interesting points that I will mention. The individual friend I know, who embraced Islam, embraced the path of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, but before he embraced Islam, he said that he had friends who were Muslim, and they would have the Quran. He was roommating with them, and several times he opened the Quran in English. He says, and every time he opened it, he couldn't understand anything. He says, because he was in the frame of mind that this book doesn't have anything in it that is for me. That is it even really a book from God, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He says, quite often, several times he opened the Quran. He says when he began to read, he couldn't understand anything in English. And he's American. He said, but then at one point in his life, when he was going through some difficulties, he thought, perhaps, maybe this book has something. He says, when he opened the book, when he opened the Quran, and he looked at the Quran, he felt as if the Quran was speaking directly to him and addressing the issue and the problem that he was having. After doing this for a few more times, he realized that I must embrace Islam, which he did. But while his heart was closed and thinking that there's nothing that can guide me, he could not understand anything. So store your knowledge, be lean with a soft and receptive heart, لا يخالطه جهل, so that ignorance will not deter that knowledge. Luqman, he further advises so that you will beautify and ordain your obedience and you're following the people of Haqq. He says to store that. He says, so وَحَزُمْ or شَدِّدْ عِلْمَكَ بِحَزْمٍ لَا يُخَالِطُهُ الضِّيَاعُ. شَدِّدْ عِلْمَكَ بِالْحَزْمِ, to tie and to hold down your knowledge بالحزم. بالحزم literally means to stock. In other words, stockpile. In other words, don't ever think that there's nothing that you can learn. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge is limitless, is endless, then there's always something to learn. So شدد علمك وشدده بحزم حتى لا يخالطه الضياء. So continue to learn. Never stop learning so that you will not lose your knowledge. And then he states, Luqman, he says, وَامْزُجْهُ بِرِفْقٍ حَتَّى لَا يُخَالِطُهُ or لَا يُخَالِطُهُ الْعُنْفِ. Then he says, diversify your knowledge. وَامْزُجْهُ, mazaj. In other words, literally mean to diversify. Again, mashallah, there's a lot of things to learn. So diversify your knowledge with friendship. By making connections, because you have something to learn, or it is possible to learn something from everyone. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, he stated, "Utlubul ilm walau bisin," that seek knowledge even if you have to go to China. And at that time, China was not Muslim. You didn't have Muslims in China at that time. But perhaps they would have something that you can learn from. Because if you approach knowledge or learning knowledge with unf means with hatred. Or in modern Arabic they use it violence. If you're vehemently against something or against a people, you'll never learn. So this is the way or means to become Ahlul Haqq. But I want to pose this question, and this is a question that we should be asking. That if this engagement, going back to the Mubahala, that event, if that engagement with the Ahlul Kitab, that what type of engagement was it? Because if we only take the surface of what is stated in the verse, that we will call our children, you call your children. We call our women, you call your women. We will call ourselves, you call ourselves. ثُمَّ نَبْتَهِلْ فَنَجْعَلْ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْكَاذِبِينَ. And then we will engage in invocation and dua, supplication against one another, to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to curse the one who is lying. So one may question and one may think, or you may even be asked, but what type of interfaith dialogue is this? Where Muslims are on one side and Christians are on another, and then we're going to call the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon each other. So I say that we must, again, learn from Ahlul Bayt, learn from the Quran, that what exactly is going on in this particular moment, in this particular event, and this engagement. As we said, that the entire event of Mubahala revolves around haqq, around truth, around la ilaha illallah, around this principle. So if we examine what was actually happening at that moment, as this envoy of Christians who had come from Najd, or Najran as they say in English, when they came to Medina, and again, if the chronology of Revelation, if it gives us any indication of how events took place in the life of the Prophet, and it's very significant that Surah Ali Imran is coming at a particular moment in the lives of all of these individuals, particularly those who are coming from Najd. How so? Because the people of Najd, they were polytheists before. They worshipped idols. But their first introduction to Tawheed and to the concept, or at least the concept of La ilaha illallah, their first introduction to monotheism were through Jews. So mostly in the Najd province, in that area, Najd, and particularly the Ahl al-Kind, the Qabila called Kinda, that they had embraced Judaism. And thereafter they embraced Christianity. So this shows a movement and a succession that they were looking for truth. Or at least they wanted to find out what was the reality. By them being, again, first Jews and then embracing Christianity, again, of course, they would have known the Torah very well. They will perhaps have known also as well some of the commentaries that was given on the Torah. And I say this particularly the verse, or at least the book in the Torah called the book Jeremiah, chapter 14, verse 15 and verse 16. And I'll explain why. That in, or at least within Judaism, there was a group of individuals who, again, they were righteous individuals. They were in the caves of Qumran, which is in the northern part of the Dead Sea. Later, much later in our time, of course, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I'm sure you've heard of these, the Dead Sea Scrolls were found and they were discovered. As a part of the Dead Sea Scrolls that were found in the Qumrani mountains, which were perhaps the people of the cave, Ahl al-Kahf, because these documents were found in the caves themselves. We find an interpretation of Jeremiah 14, 15, and 16. That the interpretation as Jeremiah 14, 15, it states, or 15 and 16, it talks about the concept of false prophets, that false prophets will come. And the interpretation of these individuals, these groups who went into the caves of Qumran, they said that based on this verse, their interpretation is that if there's a false prophet who rises among the people, then he must be killed. Not only this, the people, again, during the time of, this is before the event of the coming of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, in their documents it stated that there will be another prophet that will come. Prophecy has not ended, and we must look and we must search for the next prophet. So the people of Najd, having been Jews at one point, and then embracing Hazrat Isa alayhi salam later in their life as well, they perhaps knew this. And chronologically, we see that Surah Ali Imran, it was revealed sometime after Surah Al-Kahf, after the chapter of the cave. And this is when a group of Jews, they came to the Prophet and they asked the Prophet that how many people were in the cave? And again, if we look at the Quran, we read the response the Prophet said it's not the issue of how many people were there, but it was the issue of what they stood for and what they were seeking. So these are the group of Christians who are coming to Rasulullah in Medina from Najd with this background. And so when they came forth and they were to challenge, or at least to inquire, that is this a prophet? Again, they have a criterion to go by. And as it says in Jeremiah 14:15, that the false prophet, anyone who is a false prophet or who supports that false prophet, they will die either by the sword or by famine. And of course, we already know that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his al-Bayt, his followers, although they were held up in the estate of Abu Talib, they did not die by famine. When the Mushrikeen, when the polytheists, they tried to boycott them, they didn't die by famine. So perhaps the only way now to test is, hey, whether they will die by the sword or not. So when they came to find out whether this is a true prophet or not, then the prophet, he called them, he says, come. And the interesting thing, if you look at Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 16, what does it state? It states that those false prophets, if they are a false prophet, who will die? Them. Meaning them themselves. Whoever is calling and delivering a false message from God. Themselves, their daughters, their sons, and their wives. This is what it states. So we see that there's a parallel here. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions this, or He points this out in the very beginning of Surah Ali Imran, نَزَّلَ عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابِ بِالْحَقِّ, that we have given you the book that carries and contains truth. مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ وَأَنزَلَ التَّوْرَاةَ وَالْإِنْجِيلَ. Again, if the Prophet is delivering this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent to him with a book, the Quran, that carries truth, and it is a testimony, and it verifies what they have, or the prophets who have come before them. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has sent the Prophet of Allah, who has sent the Quran, He also revealed a Torah to al-Injil. We also find and this is also very interesting, another parallel, because the Prophet, this Mubahala, is not something that the Prophet, he is just creating, but it is something that also would have some sort of understanding in the minds of these individuals who he's facing. Why? Because we find also in the Torah, 2 Kings, the prophet Elisha, prophet which we call, or at least is in Arabic, as Yasa, in verse 86 of Surah Al-An'am, chapter 6 of the Quran, verse 86, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, wa Ismaila wal Yasa. Yasa is Elisha, who is the vicegerent, or he was the prophet after Elias or Elijah. When Elisha, he was a prophet, and he was announced as a prophet after Elias, after Elijah, there were people who doubted in him. When he went to Bethel to deliver the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the people, some people, they rejected him. They wanted to throw him out of the city. So if you go look into the 2 Kings, what did Elisha do? He invoked the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon them. And those who rejected his prophecy, again, they were destroyed. A female bear came and destroyed 42 of them. So these individuals who were facing the Prophet, they understood this. And they knew that if they enter into this Mubahala, not only is this the seerahs of the Anbiya, this is a way of, and the ethos of prophets, but if they knew that, for sure, if he is the Prophet, if he makes a supplication, an invocation to call the curse upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala against us, we will be destroyed. And if for true, he's not a prophet, then he will be destroyed. And of course, when the Prophet, he emerged with his family, himself, Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, Fatimah Zahra, Al-Hasan al-Hussein, when he emerged with them, they realized that no. Who would sacrifice their own families? And this is exactly what Jeremiah 14:16 says, that their wives and their daughters, their sons and themselves will perish, either by sword or by famine. Half of the equation had already been answered for them, because when the boycott against the Muslim came and the Muslims were in Shaykh Abi Talib, they didn't die by famine. The only other equation that if they were going based on what the scholars of Qumran they had in their documents, if they were going by that, they said, well, they didn't die by famine. The only other way is by sword. So if we make this invocation, perhaps either something calamity will befall them or it will befall us. But with the example that he has brought forth, his entire family, and the illumination that they saw on the face of their family, they refused. They refused to go into this Mubahala. But again, going back to the idea of the chronology, of when the revelation came, because Surah Ali Imran, it precedes in the chronology of when it was revealed, it precedes Surah Al-Ahzab. So perhaps if we take some sort of historical analysis of this chronology of when these verses were revealed, these chapters were revealed, again, they had knowledge that the Prophet didn't die by famine. They had knowledge that the Prophet also knew, and also they perhaps knew, that what were the documents of those individuals who were in the caves of Qumran. What was their interpretation? That a false prophet will die by the sword or by famine. He wasn't dead by famine. So at some time after the point of Mubahala, then the fitna or the gathering of the Christians and Jews and the mushrikeen, the polytheists, against the Prophet, to launch an offensive against the Prophet in the Battle of Ahzab, this came to formation. And again, we see that the Prophet was victorious even in that event. So if we want to know that what is the conclusion of the Mubahala, that what happened, yes, perhaps, and perhaps the Christians of Najd, they had some sort of hand in what went on in Ahzab. This is something that has to be studied in more detail, but if chronology of the revelation of the Quran is any indication, but yes, perhaps they had some hand. Because the people of Najd, or the Kenda tribe, they had influence in that region. One of the greatest poets, Imr al-Qais, he was from their tribe. And so he was respected. And again, their tribe was respected in the whole region. So it wouldn't be far-fetched to say that even they had a hand in creating what went on in Ahzab. But it was not victorious, and the conclusion of the event of Mubahala. And perhaps the attempt that was made after that in Ahzab was that roughly in the mid-7th century, which will be close to the end of the life of Rasulullah, or shortly after, that the people of Najd in its entirety embraced Islam. They embraced that message. Why? Because again, the criterion that they themselves had in their own books, in the Torah, for discovering whether a person is a true prophet or not, that either he will die by famine or he would die by sword, as it says in Jeremiah 14, 15, 16, chapter 14, verses 15 and 16, as it states there, that these things don't happen. They do not happen. So we see that, again, in this event of Mubahala, the Prophet of Allah, being the recipient of truth and knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his al-Bayt also carrying the responsibility of that truth and knowledge, they delivered the message. And this is the responsibility of those who also want to live by the way of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So inshallah, I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives all of us success, first and foremost, to connect to the Ahlul Haq, the Ahlul Bayt, alayhim afdhalu salatu wassalam, and then to learn the way of Ahlul Bayt, to learn what they have imparted upon us in knowledge, to live by that knowledge, and to live by that truth, and more importantly, to deliver that message to others. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Again, we pray for the hastened reappearance of Imam Zaman. Inshallah, we should do so all together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma kulli waliyika Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على